Hey folks, it is about 12:47 Eastern Daylight Time, which means the jam's about to start in about 15 minutes or so. I just wanted to take this time to really set up my expectations for what's about to happen. So this is my 4th year participating in this jam, and the past 3 years have gone well. I've made some fun games, but I always kind of was hindered by the expectation of it all. In the previous jams, I kind of really, listened to the theme, got some ideas, and then worked really hard to try and execute on the idea, but I wasn't really giving myself a lot of leeway to kind of experiment along the way as ideas changed. Mostly because the jam was only 2 days and you didn't really have any time for that. This jam is 4 days, thankfully, so I'm going to take that extra time to really experiment a lot more and to just have fun with it. I don't know if I'm even going to finish a game by the end of this, honestly. 4 days is, twice as much time as you usually have, but it's still, not a lot of time. I mean, then the product may look less like a game and more like a fever dream, but heck, with 4 days, that's what you're going to get. So yeah, I guess I better jump into the live stream. Live stream's not a live stream, it's a premiere, that's what it is. And figure what the theme is. So I will see you on the computer. Also, I got my cat here. He's probably going to be in the gym a lot this devlog. See ya. Oh, it's starting. Hi, YouTube. No, I'm not going to spam that. Good luck and have fun. Hell yeah. Thanks, you all the budget went. Here we go.
Built to scale.
Ooh.
That's right. I want to see
I'm
games
intrigued.
that make size, scale, and dimensions a key part of the gameplay.
Alright, took some time to get some lunch and to think about the theme a little bit. Where's the grade button? I think one of the hardest parts about a game jam is just the beginning, really. You have all these ideas, you have all these inspirations, hopefully at least, and you're kind of just like, okay, where do I even begin? Like, there's so much to do, there's so much time, there's so much it needs doing. And I think you just start like that. You hit create project. I don't really know what I want to make, to be honest. The theme, of course, is built to scale. That's a really good theme. I like it a lot. But I think even going into this, I knew I don't want to do pixel art. My last couple of games have all been pixel art based, and yeah, it's easier and doable and more scalable in a game jam. But I think I kind of just want to try something different. I want to do, well, what you're looking at right now. I want to do a 3D scene this time around. I have some experience with 3D modeling, not a whole lot with the whole texturing and whatnot, but I played around with a little bit, and I feel like I can make something that doesn't suck. Is that what I'm trying to do here? So I'm going to hop over into Blender and see if I can make something simple just to get the scene set up. I'm going to start with a cylinder of all things. Yeah. Sweet. That looks like a cylinder to me. No, I'm serious. Let's export that as a GLTF. This is my favorite file format. So we have a thing called assets here, and we have a thing called pipe.gld. What we can do is, I guess we'll create a new 3D scene. This will be our main scene. Main, like that. We'll save that. We'll save main on the outside. And what I can do is I can just grab pipe here, and bingo. Because the GLB just imports into Blender, no problems at all. And yeah, we can just drag and drop the model and everything works fine. I believe I'm probably going to need a camera. What happens when we run? It's a current, yep. And nothing, right? Black screen, because... No, never mind. Looks like it was loading. Give me a second. Okay, blank screen because we don't have a camera. It doesn't know what it's looking at. So we need to add a camera 3D this time around. Camera 3D. Let's move this over. It looks like it's looking this way. Move it like that. I guess we run that now. It should automatically select as the current camera. It did not automatically select current on. Try again. Still nothing. Okay. This is what we work on. This is the bugs we look forward to fixing. Okay, I think I found a problem. So you see these little buttons up here? This one is for preview sunlight. Turn that off. This is just what it looks like with no shading. And this is the preview environment. Turn this off. And everything disappears. Yeah, we don't light center scene, so it just basically appears as, well, a gray scene. So let's turn this buff on for now, but we're going to need to add ourselves a directional light. 3D. Sweet. We can turn that on like that, and you can see we actually got some lighting now as we run it. Lo and behold, we can actually see our shape. Hooray! Also, if it isn't evident by now, I have like no idea what the heck I'm doing. Again, I really want to use this jam not as a way to kind of do the stuff I already know how to do. I want to use this jam as a chance to learn something new. So I don't know how to use 3D scenes in Godot like at all. So I'm going to be learning a lot of it as we go. First up, I'm going to look for a first-person camera tutorial, and let's see what we can do with that. Okay, quick progress update here. The tutorial's going pretty well. We got this, I can't full screen in this current build. Alright, that's fine. I'll just have to zoom in and post. Yeah, we got this beautiful HDRI. These are all, well, the floor here is a Kenny asset, but this is like a Creative Commons asset type of thing. We can move around using the WSD key. What did I say? WASD keys. We can jump, we can sprint, we can even crouch, which is a different speed, although the head doesn't change yet. Yeah, it's pretty cool. The tutorial I'm using does have their own implementation for acceleration, because you can see right now it's very, like, stiff. I'm not going to use their version. I actually came up with a pretty good acceleration system myself from one of my other projects, so I'm going to implement that now. So I'll check back in when that's working. Alright, acceleration is a success. Let me show you what's going on. So now when we walk around, nothing looks too different because acceleration is pretty small, but you may see a little bit of a build up, especially when we sprint. You'll see when we try to turn around, there's a little bit of a slowdown. It's kind of hard to see because it is subtle, but if we were to crank this to say, crank it down to 0.1, we're basically in a nice field. Check this out. It takes a lot of time to start moving, and when we stop, whoa. So we're trying to sprint one way, and when we sprint the other way, we're gonna need some room to move. It feels pretty damn smooth, I gotta say so myself. I think we can fall off this and just plummet to our deaths. Yeah, that does happen sometimes. Let me show you how some of the code works. Basically, there is two pieces to this. It's the target velocity and, well, the actual movement. So the target velocity is basically like the movement code. So here, you know, we have sprint, determines which using sprint speed or walk speed. This little function here called getVector, I didn't know this existed. It might be 4.0 new, I'm not sure. But basically constructs a vector based on different input actions. So negative x is left, negative right is right. Wait, what? Negative x is right. Negative y is forward, and positive y is back, something like that. And then we can basically multiply against a transform basis, just, you know, linear algebra stuff, to construct a direction vector based on what inputs are pressed. And then we take our direction vector and we multiply. The x value would be x times the current speed. Velocity we keep the same because this is just the xy velocity, which is like the flat plane. Y is up and down in a 3D world. And direction z, current speed for vz component. That comes up to here into handle xz movement. Because the target, we calculate the diff. So the diff is the target where we want to be versus velocity where we currently are. If the length of this direction or difference vector, so basically if the distance we have to go to get up to our speed is less than the acceleration, then we just set it to that speed. Otherwise, we slowly accelerate up there. So we'll take the normalized difference vector, which means like its direction basically, multiplied by acceleration, and we add that to a velocity. So that's how we move a little bit closer to it every time. And this is, I like this implementation because it's no edge cases about, oh, if we're moving forwards and then we press back, or if we're moving forwards and then we spin the camera around, now we're moving backwards. None of that. It's all, this is where we are, this is where we want to be, or this is where we are, this is where we want to be. And it just uses math to figure out how to get there. I love that. It's awesome. I do love skating rinks. Sweet. Okay, just about finished the first part of the tutorial, so I guess I'll show you what I got so far. Same old really. I think the only thing that's really changed here is crouching is implemented. So you see when you hit the crouch button, speed actually changes, and your head dips a little bit. Plus we got some cool collision stuff. So here we have a wall that we're too tall to get under, but if we crouch, we can crouch under no problem. While we're under here, we cannot exit crouch, even though I've let go of the control key. And as soon as we pop our head out, it'll automatically go back to the way it was. Code-wise, I implemented a little bit of a state system, which is different than the tutorial. So I have this enum here called move state, and there's 3 states: walk, sprint, and crouch. We start in the walk state. I have a function here called handle move state. So first of all, we're going to check to see if we're pressing the crouch button. If we are, enter crouch state and return. That's all the logic there is here. Now this is where things get a little bit more tricky. See, we have, if we're not trying to enter crouch state, we must be trying to enter either the sprint state or the walk state. So first we're going to check to see if we're currently in the crouch state. We also need to check this. This is a little raycast. Basically what that does, it's hard to show. It's like this little arrow here. This little blue line here. See that? Yeah. Like I said, hard to see. Basically it's just going to check right above our heads to see if there's anything there. So if we're in the crouch state and there is something above our head, then return. Basically saying, well, we're crouching, but there's something above our head, so we can't exit the crouch state. If we're ever A, not in the crouch state, or B, there is nothing above our head, then we simply just handle sprint state. If we press sprint or anything else, we enter the walk state. I guess, honestly, for consistency's sake, I might just put a return there and then just do that. That makes it a little more clear to see that, oh, walk state's like the default if nothing else happens. And I think everything's pretty much the same. So basically we just like handle crouching. If we're in crouch state, do this. If we're not in crouch state, do that. There's a little match statement. This is like a switch in other languages, but in GDScript it's called match. Basically it's like if we're in the crouch state, crouch speed, sprint state, sprint speed. This means default. So any other thing use walk speed. Pretty straightforward. I think this is pretty good. This is a good tutorial. We got some good stuff going on. I got good acceleration. We got crouching mechanics. I have no idea what this game's going to look like or if it's going to use any of its mechanics. I just think it's kind of a good basis for some inspiration. So I'm going to continue with the tutorial. Next part looks like it gets pretty fancy from here, so I'll check back with you then. Alright guys, it took me all evening, but I finally finished the first person tutorial. It was excellent, honestly. I'll show you what we finished with here. First of all, I've got some pausing. So obviously you can move the mouse with the camera, or you know what I mean. But if you hit tab, then it frees up the mouse so I can make it full screen for you. And here we go. So you got this pretty beautiful scene. I don't remember what the last state looked like, to be honest, but you can walk around. You see you got this little bit of view bobbing. If I walk in this wall, you'll see what I mean. You can do this. You can sprint, which is a little bit faster. You got jump. You got little animations for when you jump. And when you land, pretty cool. You can crouch, and this one's really cool. If you're sprinting and you hit control, you do a slide. And you got this little like camera tilt. It gives you like this really cool like parkour aesthetic. And of course this wall's too tall to walk over or walk under, but you can crouch under no problem. But that means you can also slide under it. Yeah, check how cool this is. And you can also chain that into a jump. Oh, it's so amazing. This is going to be the basis of our the game we're going to be making. I feel like I do know what game I want to make, and I think it's going to be really cool. I'm not going to talk too much about tonight because it is late and I'm tired and want food and whatnot. But tomorrow is the first of 3 full days we get, which is amazing. I'm pretty much going to use the day to probably just prototype the mechanics I want to make, play around, well, make the base mechanic, which it actually shouldn't be too complicated, which is what I'm excited about. So yeah, prototype that thing and then just play around with it, see what kind of like cool consequences happen based on it, and just see how I can put together some kind of I don't know, a series of ideas, I suppose. And then the next 2 days that follow will be basically building the game, building the levels and whatnot, and polishing, making this my own. I'm probably going to stick with this kind of like Kenny default art for a while, just until I got the main idea prototyped, and after that I'll really worry about the what this game's really going to look like. I have a few ideas, but again, that kind of that goes into the what the game actually is, which I don't want to talk about right now. So I guess I will see you in the morning. Good night, guys. Well, good morning, guys. Please ignore the violent thunderstorm going on outside. It's a little after 11, I think. Yeah, I didn't get started on the jam right away this morning. I had some other things to do. I think that was like the main point of the extra time. It wasn't to grind more, it was to give you more time for life's other things going on. So I'll be getting started momentarily. And I'm excited to share what my idea for the game is. I haven't done that yet. But first, I think I want to tackle a little bit more polish for what we did yesterday, so meet you on the computer. Alright, here we are. I am rendering a video in the background at the same time, so apologies if things get a bit on the laggy side. This computer's, it can do the job, but it's about 4 years old, so it's a little bit on the shaky side. But yeah, here we go, what we got yesterday. Amazing camera movement, jumping and landing effects, my favorite thing I've ever made. Hell yeah, all that's just so cool. Anyway, yes, the thing I want to add before we move on is some sound effects. I really like this run and then you jump and you hit the floor. I can almost hear the landing. Of course, there actually isn't any sound. Now, I think sound is one of those things that people tend to overlook. It's oh, I'll just add music at the end, sound effects at the end, but it makes such a big deal of making the world feel alive and tangible. And I think it'd really be a shame to skip over that. So also make these, just these demonstration footages a lot more interesting if you're not just staring at something with no sound. I guess you can add music in post, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to do that now. I think I'm just going to grab some assets from online. I might make my own later, but I'm not going to worry too much about that right now. So yeah, I'm going to get something for jumping, landing, some footsteps, and some kind of slide effect. So I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, I've implemented a few sound effects now, so we'll show those off. This is... There you go. This is the jump and land. I don't have the step effects yet because those are a little tricky to implement. We'll get to that in a second. And then the slide is just like a whoosh. It's alright. I don't know. It's kind of cheesy. It feels nice when you're going underneath something. But when you're just sliding on open air, yeah, it definitely just doesn't work. It's good enough for now. I mean, it gets the point across and I can change it out later. So I don't even know how much I'm going to use sliding in the final game. I want to use it because it looks awesome, but we'll get to that later. So I'm going to implement the steps now. A little bit more tricky, but I'll catch up with you when that's done. All right, so I've gone ahead and implemented the step sound effects. I want to show you how it works first. So the view bobbing uses this sine function as, an oscillator. Specifically, we're looking at this one, the head bob index over 2. Now, what we wanted to do is we want to play a step sound effect whenever it hits a peak or hits a valley. And basically, we can detect this by figuring out whenever it goes from increasing to decreasing and decreasing to increasing. I've also booted up a little bit of a Desmos page to show this a little bit better. So basically, we want to detect it whenever it goes, whenever it hit this point or this point, right? So whenever it goes from increasing to decreasing or from decreasing to increasing. Now, a way we can do this is actually using a bit of calculus. We can take the derivative of this function. In this case, would be cos headbox inverse 2, and then we got to move the 2 outside because chain rule. This basically will be a function that tells us the slope of the function at a point in time, and we can take that we can take the sine of that function. Now, whenever this function, we're catching the previous sign of a function and we're taking the sign of it. This just returns -1 if it's negative, +1 if it's positive. Whenever that sign changes, which will be whenever, of course, whenever it changes direction like this or down here. Then we want to just update the sign, of course, then we play the step sound effect. And this actually works really, really well. As you can see, we can step. You can hear the sound effects. And we start sprinting. Plays a bit faster. Now it's super obnoxious right now because it's the same step or sound effect every time. So I'm gonna work on next is adding some variations, some different sound effects and stuff. It's not the most difficult thing in the world, but it is a little bit tricky to set up. So I'll check back in again once that's done. Okay, we got massive improvements here. Now you can hear. Some variation in the sound effects. Now, yeah, that can happen. There's a little bit of a bug with the sliding, but that's probably not going to get fixed. Okay, I want to show what we got. So I have this thing called, I guess I haven't shown this at all yet. So we have over here, we have the sound effects. So we have a little note here just to keep them together, and we have a separate sound player for each one. You don't necessarily need to do this. You can use the same one in an animation player, but I like being able to set like the volume for each one individually. I guess in animation player, I'll show that. Here we just simply call the play function on the sound effects player, and that's how we get the animations in the animation player. Again, you can actually use an audio playback track, and you select it, but that basically requires you set the stream in the animation player, and then you can't change the volume for each sound effect. That's why I don't do that. Over here, step sound effect is a little bit different. This is a little class I made called multi-sound. Basically, just overrides a base stream player, and it implements what's called like a bag data structure. So basically, we set the sounds, it sets the data, and it sets the bag. Make sure to duplicate here so we're not using references, we're actually duplicating the items in the array. And we have this function here called playRand. So first of all, we just get a random index. You can do that using rand_i, and then we mod it by the size of the bag. Then we're going to pull the stream from the bag using the index, and then we're going to remove it. So this is like the same idea as like you reach into a bag and you grab an item. You've selected the item, but the item's no longer in the bag, so you can't grab it again. So when you call and play rand again, it can't pull that same stream from the bag because it's not in there. This, make sure we're not pulling the same bag pulling the same sound effect over and over and over again. We have to get through all the sound effects before we can start repeating. Of course, if we pull an item from the bag and then the bag is now empty, then we just refill the bag by duplicating the data again. Since we are an audio stream player, we can play the stream by setting the stream variable and then just calling play. There is one place where this falls apart a little bit, is that it's possible to, of course, pull the last item from the bag, put it back into the bag, and then pull that same item the next time around. So there is one instance in which you can get duplicate sounds, but there's a way to fix that. It's not that hard, but honestly, I don't think it's that big a deal. So back in player class, since we can't set it over here in the little viewer, we have to do this. It looks a bit busy, but it's not that big a deal. Called set sounds, of course. I'm using the preload function, which will make sure compile time and make sure its asset is available. And we just put it in here, preload each of the effects, and this builds the array, which we call set sounds, and that's what we have to do for that. And then down here, step effects, whenever we apply the logic I think I showed last time, and we just call play rand instead of play, and everything works beautifully. I hit the wrong button. I think that's really awesome. I think I'm going to call that for the end of the little sound saga there, and we're going to get into the actual game mechanics now. But I think that was a nice little polish, and I think it'll go a long way in the end. Alright guys, I've been real heads down getting this to work. Let me just show you what I've got. So you'll see, pop into the scene. I always hit the wrong buttons. I pop into the scene, we got this little orange cube here. I mean, it's just a cube, looks kind of nice, but nothing real special about it, right? Well, I've implemented a little something. When you left click, you get this thing. When you right click, you get this thing. And basically, when I went to shoot said array, you can see it has little intersections. I can like shoot it into the sky, but when I hit this block here, it stops it. Got a little mission. I think it's okay for a prototype. Because these little blocks, if I were to shoot with the blue laser, it shrinks. And you shoot the green laser, it grows. Yeah, so this is basically the idea, is you have this eventually be like kind of like a Portal-esque puzzle platformer first-person shooter type of thing, where you have instead of a portal gun, you have this ray gun. Left click for grow, right click for shrink. And certain objects, not all objects, obviously, like the floor here is black, non-interactable. This orange object can be infected by the ray, only to a certain point. So you see it grows. I like how it like kind of like pops onto the floor because it's flying and then it's suddenly not on the ground anymore. I also like took me way longer than I care to admit to get this effect to work correctly. Let me show you what I mean. Like the texture, to get it to like, as the cube grows and shrinks, to get it to like grow from the center of the cube, that was like a ridiculously difficult endeavor. I don't even want to like explain to you how long that took. But yeah, I think that's actually pretty cool. It looks kind of nice. There is a bit of a bug here. This is probably one of the main mechanics of the game, is jumping on boxes like this, and then you can grow it. But if you do this, it gets kind of glitchy. You see, the problem is, of course, the when you're glowing the box, it grows into the floor, but the collision just pops it back onto the surface, no problem. The problem is when there's another collision object, i.e. the player on top of it. The game doesn't quite know what to do with it, so it kind of pushes up and then pushes down, up and down, up and down, up and down. It does this glitchy thing until suddenly you jump and now suddenly it's got space to move it in. I'm not sure how to fix that quite yet.
that's going to be something to fix. But this is going to be such a fundamental part of the game. I definitely need to get that, that glitchiness resolved. Otherwise, it's going to really hurt, enjoyability of this project. But yeah, I think this is a cool, pretty good prototype. I like it. It's snappy. It's interesting. Something I really want to do now is, you notice like when I'm like shrinking it, like I'm shrinking it. It's kind of hard to see. I may have to like slow down the footage or something, but I'm shrinking it. Yeah, you saw that right there. It kind of stutters there. It's because like I'm shrinking it, but then suddenly my ray's not overlapping the box anymore, so then it stops shrinking, and then it overlaps it again because it falls, and it's a bit stuttery. I want to add like a bit of like an aim assist. So like when you're actively like interacting with an object like this, what I want to do is like slowly nudge the mouse towards the center of the object. Just slightly nudge it. So like you can move your mouse off still, but like if your mouse isn't moving, it will just like keep it in frame. I think that'd be a really nice optimization there. This is actually pretty satisfying, isn't it? I guess I can show some of the code behind this. This was a lot. So basically I have ideas as weapon class. There is a little cylinder here. It's just a cylinder. It's got a crazy material mesh. I think I actually have two materials, a grow material and shrink material. They're just basic. I don't know if I can even show this. Yeah, they just got a slightly transparent alpha texture for the albedo. And then it's got a emission texture with some fairly high energy multiplier. Again, these are just prototypes, so change it for something eventually, I'm sure. And then we got a raycast. This basically has a length, I think, of 50. This is like its default length. And in the code, this is still pretty messy to be honest, but like we get the input shrink and grow. If input is 0, that means either never being pressed or both being pressed at the same time, so just make the beam invisible, then return. If the input is less, that means shrink. Then we use the shrink material. If we use the grow material, make it visible. And this is the whole collision logic. So if the ray's not colliding with anything, then we just we increase the beam scale, which is like the mesh object here, the cylinder. We change its scale to wherever the raycast is targeting. So like default like 50 meters. But if it does hit it, we can use this function called get collision point, where we can get the actual position. We can get the global position of the beam, and we use this little algebra subtracted to get the length to figure out. Basically, we're trying to figure out how far away the object we hit is, so we know how large to scale the beam, which you saw worked pretty well. Also, we have this little extra thing, get collider, which gets the actual object it collided with. I have a thing called GS, which just stands for grow shrink. I kind of struggled to come up with a name for this that wasn't used, because scale is already a variable. Mass is also a variable too, apparently, for rigid bodies. So I couldn't use that one ever, so I just went for GS in quotes there. This is a pretty messy thing so far. It's just a prototype, but all like GS objects will have this kind of interaction logic. Has a simple value here, which does quite a few things, if I'm honest. It changes the size. This is a size vector. It changes the mass, which is a physics thing. I don't think that applies too much right now, but I feel like, a cube that is mass is basically volume, I suppose. Like if a cube that is twice its scale is 8 times as massive. A weird quirk of it even just tells you right here, but a weird quirk with rigid bodies is you can't change their scale because their collision won't scale with them. It's very strange. So you have to like manually change the scale and also change the mesh at the same time. And then we're changing the UV1 scale and UV1 offset. That's how we get the texture of the cube to scale from the center. This took me a million times longer to figure out this code than I dare admit. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what I've done. And again, I think it's a pretty cool little mechanic there. I can add some sound effects, of course. I want to add some like some particles to the actual object being interacted with to show that it's being interacted by the ray. But yeah, it's pretty snappy. It's pretty cool. I'm going to work on that little aim assist now, and I'll get back to you when that is working. Alright, this one was really hard to implement in the end, it turns out. So to get it working, so as you can see, you can create the box, and you can see it's like little snaps. So if I click on the corner, you'll see it kind of snaps to the middle. I know it stays in there the whole time. There's kind of like a weird fighting thing, like, you can't, as long as you're zapping the box, you can't really move outside of it, which is kind of annoying. But to be honest, I don't have a good fix for that right now. And I don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest. Because most use case would be like, say if you're far away and you want to shrink something, or like there's this tiny box here and you want to grow it, you just need to click it somewhere and you'll basically be able to do it at any point. Like this feels pretty good, to be honest. You know, if I wanted to, you know, like shrink it while I'm like, you know, doing some cool moves. I don't know if I can, yeah, you can like, you know, grow a box while you're running under a thing. You can do like a cool, right? And that totally just like works. I think it's only gonna be like really problematic when like there's a lot of, you know, distance. But again, most of the time, like you're not really trying to grow a box that's already grown too much, right? You just let go of left click. I know, again, this took me so long to implement. It's kind of janky. Basically, from the weapon, I just emit a signal whenever the object was hit and emit some stuff. The object hit in the delta. I don't like emitting delta here, but I didn't really have a better option. I'll fire back up the player, who then basically has to do some linear algebra stuff. So it converts, you know, the object's local position and the point. Like this is like the object itself and its position in the world, and then the point is like the point on the object that Ray specifically hit. And it tries to figure, okay, I'm trying to move from where it hit to the center of the object. So it needs to move that into local space, and it needs to do this math to figure out the angle between the two, and then it moves the rotation. Because of how the controller's set up, the body only rotates on the y-axis, and then the head rotates only on the x-axis. And it's a whole thing, and but you know, it works now. Kind of burned through my whole day just like working on these mechanics and stuff, but I think that's kind of cool. I mean, this is cool, right? A box that grows and shrinks. Its texture grows and shrinks too, which is pretty cool. Okay, quick side edge. Realize there's something wrong with the box texture. This is what it should look when it's small, and this is what it should look like when it's big. Yeah, that's a lot better. I just kind of like the way the texture like scales. Like it's not just like, you know, starting it. It's like actually scaling via like the texture up. It's like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm explaining. I've already showed you this before. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think a game like this is gonna have to, as long as like the core experience is like good, I don't think of like this jank is really gonna be that big a deal. You know, like as long as like the core experience of like growing in boxes and shrinking it feels good, you know, like that. Like this, like, you know, aim assist and stuff, like this whole like, you know, janky this. I mean, this is gonna expected to happen in a 3D game in a game jam. Like it's kind of a point. Yeah, so I think the next thing I'm gonna try and knock out, the last thing I knock out today, is being able to pick up the box. It's like a very, you know, fundamental aspect and might be tricky as heck. But basically I want to make it so like you only pick up the box when it has like less than a certain mass. Remember, the mass changes like pretty substantially when the size changes. Like you shrink it down to a certain point and you can pick it up. You can throw it. And using the physics engine and stuff, it'd be cool if you could like throw the box when it's small to give it a lot of force, and then you could like grow it in midair, just so it lands with a lot more impact or something. I think that could be really cool. So I'm gonna try, see what I can do with that. Okay, so when I was playing around with some collision layers, I accidentally fixed a bug. Remember that bug where like the box would like bug out of you on top of it? Now I can just do that, and there's no problems whatsoever. It just is completely smooth. Yeah, so I moved the player off of the box's collision layer. So basically I think what's happening before is the box is moving up, pushing the player, but the player is also pushing the box. Now the box pushes the player, but the player doesn't push the box back, so it's no problem just, you know, making it small, jumping on it, and you can just ride it up and down. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Of course, I did have to, not of course, well, I did have to comment out some code about the whole, like, you know, well, this whole thing, the tracking thing, which I still like, but the problem is when you're sitting on top of the box, this thing goes all wild and crazy now, so that's not totally fun. Okay, next update, made a few changes. I wasn't really liking the, I guess the aim assist. I know I spent like hours implementing that, but to be honest, it was just kind of jank and stuff, so I thought of a slightly better solution, so you can move around the mouse pretty freely. Whenever you're using the ray, it kind of makes it about, so like a dampening effect. I think that also gives it a bit of tactile feel to feeling like, you know, there's like some pushback to using the ray like this. It also gives you a more greater precision when you're actually using the thing. It's not as good as before, but I think it's a little more fun. It's a little more of a game that way, I guess. Also, when, you know, the box is small enough, you can pick it up. You can't fire the ray while you're in this state. It doesn't launch into space anymore, which is cool, although it doesn't interact with walls ever yet. Still working on that part. And you can't put it down, so more work to do. Okay, things are looking pretty good. We got the box here. We can't do anything with it as big, but we can shrink it down. We can pick it up. And when we pick it up, it automatically aligns to the player's view like this. You can walk around with it. Looks pretty good. No collisions still, but we'll fix that at some point. But at any point, you can just release it. It does always like realign to like the world's axis, which I don't have a fix for right now. But to be honest, it kind of makes the whole growing thing a little bit easier anyway. So like how you can like, shrink it, move it over here, drop it, and you can then jump on it and use this to climb up. Or you could even just, grab it like this, and you could do a slide under there, and bring it over here and then jump on it. Like, it's the possibilities. It's pretty cool. I like it a lot. I think the last thing I want to implement is throwing, which should be interesting, actually. These rigid bodies are, like, really complex with, like, all very crazy forces and masses and inertias and yeah, okay, these are just properties, but there's like functions, like apply central force, apply constant force, apply force from a central position and shooting in a particular direction. Like, I feel like there's stuff I can play around with, so I'm gonna figure it out. Okay, I've been filling around with some values, so let's make it small enough so we can pick it up. And then this is a 0.8 strength straight up, just a little ba-doop ba-doop. Yeah, but remember the mass constant we used before that like changes like cubically based on size? Yeah, let's shrink it to its absolute smallest size. And then let's pick it up, and then yeah. I think I might need to change that back to a linear function. Also, this is probably gonna clip to the floor. Yeah, that tends to happen too sometimes. Take two. This is a live test so far. Pretty small, and then if we shrink it first to make it as small as it goes, and then try to throw it. Okay, that is much more. We've got a linear curve instead of a cubic curve. Oh boy. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll down. I have this little constant here. Right now it's at 0.8 because I had ridiculous. Well, you saw it. Let's make this like, I don't know, 3 maybe. Try that. And we shrink the box. Okay, that's alright. So yeah, the smaller you, like this, the smaller the box is, the farther it's going to throw. Because it's less dense. Of course, if you make it bigger, not that big, you won't be able to pick it up. Then it's like, there's no way I'm going to throw it over that way. Also because it goes straight up. I should probably fix that, shouldn't I? I guess that's the two components of the, of this thing, is apply impulse. This is like a one smack of force. You need a direction. Well, technically it's just a vector, but you got a strength and need a direction. Direction is going to be a little bit tricky. Because we're basically, it's always this conversion between local space and global space. I think the force needs to be applied in global space. Not sure on that one. I think it's supposed to be global. I'll figure it out. I feel like I'm almost there. So like when I throw in this direction, oops, that was the wrong button. Oh yeah, by the way, I have like E's just drop and R's throw. I think eventually I want to have some kind of like torque system where like you hold down E and it'll like spin and charge up and then you'll launch it. But for now, it's just a simple toss. So these two directions work fine, no problem. But then you throw in this direction. Let's drop on again. Throw in this direction, it throws into you and it just pushes you along. It's yeah, I'm not sure what the heck that's about, but hey, more problems to solve, I guess. Okay, I think I managed to get it. I had to use not the basis, but the inverse. A basis is like a fancy Godot term for 3x3 matrix. So I don't use the matrix, I have to use the inverse, because I guess I'm not putting it into the player space, I'm taking it out of the player space, if you know what the hell that means. I didn't make a full screen button, god damn it. Yeah, so now you can throw this thing, you can toss it like that, you can toss it in the air, you can do a slam dunk, like throw it over there, it's not what a slam dunk is. And then you can, right onto there, throw it over here, do some jumpy jumps. Yeah, like it just totally hits the wrong button sometimes. Oh, well. Gotta play some physics simulations to see what I can do with this. I guess you can still make it big, big obstacle in the way, but instead you can grab it, drop it down here, make it big like that, nor that, and then you can just walk over here like that. I guess that's a puzzle idea. I don't know. Okay, I think that's probably gonna be it for the night. It's almost 9 p.m. I guess the last thing to do with this whole cube thing is the collision. I mean the collision while it's being picked up. So, when I have it picked up and stuff, there's no collision. I can just drop it for walls and stuff. I had to disable the collision. so I wouldn't interact with the player, but I think I might be able to, I might take, what's the expression? Take a stab at it, tonight, and then I guess probably finish it tomorrow, but I think this is pretty good progress for day every way. Yeah, let me get a quick try at that and see how it goes. I'll see, I've got a good attempt. I don't think there's really anything I can do about this. The problem is when we have to pick up an object like this, it's actually like, well, we can move it around. We have to turn off its collisions, basically. It's just not a rigid body anymore, which means you can't make it do bouncy stuff. Maybe I could figure something out at some point, but honestly, like, it's gonna be so difficult. And honestly, I'm thinking maybe I should just design puzzles that don't, involve being able to drop the ball on the wall or something. Not sure on that one. Well, something I haven't tried yet. I want to try throwing this in the air and blasting it while it's in there. Yes, it works. Oh, that's so cool. I love mechanics like this, which are just like natural consequences of the game's existing components. I didn't have to hard code anything to make this work. I could just do it. Make it small. Throw it. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Make it small, throw it high, and then make it big while it's up there. And it comes down big on the other side. Cool. Yeah, I think that's pretty good, honestly. I guess this part's kind of annoying. I guess you could just simply make it that you can't release the object if the object in question is currently inside a wall. That would be a pretty easy thing to check, actually. Maybe I should do that one, but I think I'm really tapped out for tonight. I'll make some dinner, deal with my cat who's losing his mind, and oh, yeah, I'll see you in the morning. Good night.
Good morning, guys. It's about 10:30 in the morning. Kind of just said that, didn't I? It is day 3 of the jam, which is pretty exciting. Usually this is the final day. It's usually just a race to get everything done and uploaded and stuff, but I'm glad we still have 2.5 days left. Like, technically not even in the halfway point in jam yet, so that's pretty awesome. Today I feel like my goal is really to just enough with like the prototyping, I guess, and start trying to build an actual game out of it. I have some ideas, so we're definitely going to get into that pretty soon. Yeah, I'm feeling optimistic. Nothing more really to say. Let's just get onto the computer.
Well, here we are again. Nothing's changed, of course, since last night. Everything's still looking pretty good. So what I want to focus on today is really starting to make some actual levels. I think I'm going to continue with the current assets for now, at least. And then I got a few ideas for maybe like the first 2 little rooms, chambers, whatever you want to call them. And we'll see how that goes. So yeah, see you in a second. Okay, we got ourselves the beginning of a level. We got floor, some walls, and this big ledge here, which is way, way, way too fast to jump up. There's a little box here, which also doesn't work. So the idea is that this will be like the first room you just received a ray gun, which we don't actually have, by the way. We're kind of just shooting out of her eyes, I think, based on where it's positioned on the player. Basically, you're just in this room. There's nothing to interact with. I mean, there'll be a back wall, obviously, and probably a ceiling, but like, in this room, nothing to interact with. Except just this one box, which clearly is different than the background, and his ray gun. So I'm hoping the player will just come in here and they will just try something like, make it really big. I'm like, whoa, this thing gets bigger. What does the other button do? Whoa, it gets smaller. And hopefully, eventually, the player realizes, okay, if it's small, I can jump on it, and then I can do this, and voila. First puzzle solved. Yeah, I think that does a pretty good job. This cube can be picked up, technically speaking, because it's just a test cube. I don't want that to be the case, so I'm going to change it so it's not pickable, which is easy. I just literally disable one of its collision layers. But yeah, that's the first part of the first puzzle. There's actually going to be a little bit more to it. I'll show you that in a second once I got it. Yeah, this is, I think this is going well. Okay, I've created a little bit more. So this is still the same room as before, but if you walk over here, you might notice. Hear that stereo? You can hear just like a little bit of music coming from up there. So just seeing what we did before. And you see this box in here. Now this is just a placeholder, of course, but eventually this is going to be a radio object with just this radio sitting here. And of course, another ledge you can't get by. So what do you do? Of course, you try and grow and shrink it. But notice if you shrink it, means it gets a way higher pitch, and you make it bigger, gets a way lower pitch. And I love this like sound you hear when it goes and shrinks. Just was a bit funny. So what you're supposed to do is pick up the radio, walk over here, and then jump on it. So basically what this does is it teaches you about, it teaches you about grabbable objects. And also just kind of shows kind of like the, I don't know, the humor, I guess. I'm trying to like make this game have a little bit the idea like, oh, this radio, you know, just, I guess it's the whole concept that like objects don't, you know, their size doesn't just affect their size, right? It can affect other things about them. I think throughout the game I'm gonna have like these like speakers on like the walls that are like playing the music, and what you can do is you can like grow them, and if they get too big they'll like fall off the wall and smash, and then your music just stops playing, and I think that'd be hilarious. I want this to be like a radio object that you can, you know, both with the chance to interact with and to pick up. So there we go. We got the growing, shrink tutorial, grabbing, moving, all that stuff. I think that's a pretty good first level. I want to have like this elevator system where basically like you, I don't know, it's like a pulley system. So like you're on one platform and there's like a scale. There's a weight on the other side, and of course it's small, you won't go anywhere, and you have to make it big. And once you make it big, then you'll go up on the elevator. And the idea is that once you get to the top of the elevator, the counterweight goes out of like frame. You can't like see it anymore, and therefore you can't shrink to make the elevator go back down. So it makes like a very natural one-way elevator that uses the grow and shrink mechanics, not just some like, you know, random platform. I think that'd be really cool. And I love this thing. It's so funny. Sweet. All right. Onward. Get everything to show off real quick because this kind of like glass paint I've added real quick. It's just a simple transparency texture. Looks pretty cool, to be honest. It's a regular, you know, wall. You can't jump against it. If I were to try and throw an object against it, it just bounces off, right? But the point is, since it's glass, the ray goes through it still, which means I can then grow objects from the other side of the panel. Man, that kind of cool, huh? So it's actually really easy to implement. As I can show you real quick, it's just I have this way I've set up here with the collision layers. So the first layer is for static layers, and then we have the rigid body layer. Freeze any object that's grabbable. 4 is for the player, and 5 is for ray. So basically, if it's in the ray collision layer, it means it can be interacted with the ray. So basically, things like the GX box is in both the rigid layer because it's a rigid object, and it's in the ray layer because it can be interacted with the ray. But glass is just simply in the static layer. It does not interact with the ray, so the ray just goes straight through it. And it's a simple, super easy solution, pretty effective, like it a lot. Alright, back to that scale thingamabob. Alright, so I feel like I've gotten something here. This first part's still the same as it's always been. Still love that. No, that's a little hard to hit. So I got this little like lift here. I don't quite have all the blocks in place yet, so that's not a problem. So I got this little pink lift here, and then over there you got a red block. Eventually I think I'm going to connect it with like a chain or a cable or something to indicate that the two are like, you know, weighted together. But since this red is big and that thing is small, you can't really do anything. And then got this glass here, which I think is pretty cool. But if you just shoot it so it grows, suddenly the two swap places. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty smooth. There's, again, nothing up here. Yeah, honestly, I'm struggling a little bit to kind of put the... Oh, no. Struggling a little bit to kind of put the pieces together. Also, this block's totally in the floor. I gotta fix that too. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of just throwing stuff together randomly and seeing what sticks. I don't know. I think I'm gonna take a bit of a break, and then I'm gonna take a. Well, I'm gonna take a break, and then I'm going to. I think change gears a little bit. I think I'm gonna work on making the actual like ray gun, so you're not just shooting out of your face anymore. And then work on like the very like beginning of the game, because I have an idea of like how I want that whole thing to play out. And I think that will be pretty. I think that'll be pretty cool. So yeah, take a break, do that, and I'll see you when I got something. Alright, back from the break. Force didn't go well, it was really bugging there, so I went for bike ride instead, and then it poured of rain, so now I'm wet and shirt's a bit extra damp, but I guess that's fine.
Yeah, so I'm gonna dry off, maybe shower, and then we'll get back to the game. But I actually had a good idea while I was out there. Instead of, like, I wasn't really feeling the whole Portal aesthetic. I want to sit on the couch because I'm kind of wet, but my cat really wants to play. So you know what he. Anyway, so yeah, I felt like instead of the whole Portal aesthetic, because I wasn't really feeling that. I just kind of felt like the growth mechanic was kind of an afterthought. I didn't really feel like it was the focus of the game. So I thought of this really new idea, which I think might be better to explain once you're back on the computer. So I'm gonna grab a towel and I'll see you there.
Alright, so my new idea for the game is, I've ever played the game Moving Out before. So basically it's like the concept that like you work for a, I don't know, like a moving company or something, and you have your shrink ray. And the idea is you're supposed to shrink, you know, the furniture, and I mean like all the furniture in the house. Alright, I can't pick this up anymore, I changed that. Anyway, and you're supposed to like shrink like all the furniture in the house. And you're supposed to, you know, like throw it into like moving boxes and stuff. And I feel like it's a way better like implementation of like the growth ray, or well, shrink ray more specifically here. How do I pick this up? Yeah, still a couple bugs here. Don't worry about it. I think it's a way better implementation of the shrink ray. There's a reason you're using shrinking because, well, like obviously, you know, it makes packing up a lot easier if you just throw your furniture into boxes, like you do small items and stuff. But in terms of like the growing mechanic, I thought it'd be like, you know, fun if like different mechanics in the game have like different properties depending on their size, you know, like the radio, of course. Like I thought maybe have like a bed or something that's like springy. So you have to, you know, move it around, you make it bigger, and when you bounce on it when it's bigger, you get higher or more height, so you can reach items like the top shelf. Alternatively, you could just like grow items on the shelf, and then they would like, the shelf would break under their mass, and then they would fall on the floor. But like sometimes there's like snow globes on the shelf, and then if you grow the snow globes, they fall on the ground and they shatter, and then you lose points at the end of the round for depositing broken snow globes. And I have a couple other surprises, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself, so I think I'm going to hop into Blender and actually start modeling some stuff for once instead of all these cubes. I think this is a good idea. Alright, I've gone ahead and modeled myself a bed. Sorry if I'm not like showing too much of the process here. It's just, this is like the first devlog of the style I've made. I don't want to kind of like make it too complicated off the bat, so I'm just going to focus on progress updates, and maybe in other videos will be more time-lapsey stuff. But yeah, this is basically made of 3 different pieces. We got the actual bed, we got the mattress, and we got the sheets. I'm not going to worry about texturing for this game. I don't think I have time to really go for all the UV unwrapping and stuff to make it work. I'm just going to use standard colors and materials and stuff. But I think this will create kind of like a very, you know, very cartoony, very, I don't know, simple shapes. Plus, will making the hitboxes for this a million times easier. So again, I exported this as a JPL, which I demonstrated earlier, and I've imported it into Blender, and it looks beautifully fine. Yeah, I like this a lot, honestly. I love making furniture like this. It's a lot of fun. And I love how you can just import GBLs just as basically nodes. This is basically like the same idea of like, if you go into GS box, the root node is a rigid body, and then this object here, the what is this called? The CSG box, whatever the hell that means, is like the actual like mesh object. Same idea here. This is like the mesh object. This isn't like the root object, and then everything else applies to it. Another amazing thing you can do with the GLTF format and Blender stuff, you can like make animations here, like in Blender. I won't do this for a bed, obviously, but like I can make animations in here, and then I can basically store them as actions, and then they'll be imported into Blender, and they'll be like implemented as like animation players, and they'll just work flawlessly, and I mean, not flawlessly, but smoothly. Yeah, so I'm probably going to make some more furniture. That was pretty fun. I actually really like modeling like this, the big blocky style and whatnot, and I'll catch up with you when we got a little more going on. Okay, progress update here. I spent an absurd amount of time trying to get a collision shape working for this object, because, you know, the bedpost is a little bit higher than the rest of it, so I didn't know how to do that. Ultimately, I just ended up doing this. Apparently, you can just create... Apparently, you can put 2 collision shapes under the under a rigid object, and it'll use both at the same time. One for this, one for this part up here, and that works totally fine, I guess. I was trying to do something with like creating a mesh in Blender and then exporting it, and then using some generate mesh stuff or generate collision shape from mesh. None of that was working, and it was all really bad, and this is just the best solution. So yeah, I'm kind of ashamed it took so long to get right, but heck, we're here now. So I don't know why I don't like how like shiny these objects are. Like, look like they're emitting a lot of light. I think there's like a thing called bloom or something that makes things glow like this. I might need to change the settings somewhere. I just don't know where it is. We'll figure it out. Maybe just because it's in sunlight right now. If we use like a different light, it might not be. I just realized the shadow is not coming from the sun, is it? Yeah, I can work with that. Honestly, guys, I'm really struggling to get these collision object to behave. I've tried generating one for the shape. I guess I can show you. It looks like this. It's kind of like this kind of weird slanted thing, and it definitely is almost the right shape. But like the way Godot generated using the mesh, it does like this weird scaling thing. And if you get rid of the scale, it just like, well, I don't know what just happened. What just happened? Oh, because this is a subchild. See what I mean? Like every time I try to like fix something, it just like breaks at the seams, and it's just like ridiculous, and I don't really know what to do about it. I think the best option here is just to remodel the bed to make it a simpler shape. I think for rigid objects, when it comes to collision, just make the shapes as simple as possible, man. This is supposed to be like a goofy, super jank physics simulation. I don't think anyone's going to care if the collision box doesn't line up perfectly or anything. So I'm just gonna delete a bunch of stuff and see if I can get the easier collision working. Okay, I've made the bed simpler by just removing the headboard basically, and you can, jump on it and you can walk all over it. It's just a simple cube now, no problems. You grow it, walk around, shrink it right down to a little tiny bed, and you can just throw it into space and then grow it in midair, and it'll come back down and fall off the edge. Yeah, this edge don't normally be here. Physics simulations, right? I think the most annoying part is I have to make the mesh a child of the collision shape, because it's just the strangest bug. For some reason, I can't change the scale of them individually, even though they're like independent of each other. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Well, hey, scale, we're not using you anymore. Yeah, so that's like, I don't know, hour and a half for like one model. This is the bugs, that are really annoying in game jams. But I guess it's just kind of the thing you have to accept. It's kind of frustrating when you can't just, make the game you want to make quickly. It's all about the experience, right? The trials and tribulations and stuff. So there you go. There's my bed. I'm going to try and add some bouncy collision to it. So I'll put like a little area on top of it. So if the player interacts with it, it'll get a bit of a jump boost. And that jump boost will scale depending on the size of the bed, which I think will be cool. See if I can do that without too many issues. Okay, thankfully this wasn't that hard to accomplish. So you have the bed here, of course. It's a pretty big bed that I'm looking at it, but whatever. So when you're on the bed, you can walk around, you can jump as normal, but when you're on the bed, if you press jump, a little closer, to space, yeah, okay, jump boost is like way too high right now, obviously, but like that's like the gist of it. It's not like bouncy, that like when you land on it, you bounce, because I don't really want to implement that, to be honest. It's just while you're in like on the bed, which I can show you. The bed has a separate collision shape called bounce pad, I guess, and it's just slightly stakes off of the original one. So you still collide with the bed all the same, but like if you're just a little bit on top of it, and you get a jump boost. I guess something to note is like I had to put the bounce pad as a child of the collision shape, which is kind of annoying. The main issue that makes it so difficult is that rigid body's scale can't be manipulated like outright because it messes with the physics stuff. Your best bet is to shrink the collision shape, which means all its children have to be the child of its collision shape, which isn't really how this node's supposed to be used, but it's the only option I have, so that's Godot for you. Some things work really well, and some things are just hacks as hacky as hacky gets. But yeah, basically, whenever a player enters or exits the node, it's a function called set jump boost. I set the 20, which is, of course, way too high. I was just testing. And this calls this function on the player, set jump boost up here, which just sets a variable when the player called jump boost, and this jump boost variable down here. Whenever you handle jump, you have the jump speed plus any jump boost you have, which makes it pretty easy, honestly. Change it down to 10. Let's see how well this affects it. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. I like that. That's like more like the jump boost you would have if like the bed was like, massive like this or something, right? You would expect. Now I want to like really crank these numbers like up really high. I want it to be like super surprising, like super ridiculous, like how freaking high you can jump when the bed's big, and when the bed's small, you can't walk on it. By the way, that I guess this is like code you can write to make you step up like small collisions. I don't have time to write that or expertise to do it. Collision box is a smaller kind of sketch, but we still high as hell. Okay, now I'm going to scale that based on the size of the object. Okay, more progress. This is thankfully pretty easy to implement. When you jump on the bed, we get a little bit of jump boost. That's still quite a bit, but I think it's pretty fun. Might still be too much, to be honest. Yeah, I feel like that's still too much. Hold on. Okay, I don't want it to feel like, you know, the bed's just jumpable in its current state. I want it to feel like you have to make the bed big, like really big, before it becomes, you know, doable. Yeah, you get a little bit of jump boost, like, you know, bouncing on the bed type of thing, right? Of course, when the bed is small, it pretty much gives you next to no jump boost. Whatever, make the bed massive and jump on it, you get quite a bit more height, I think. This is a regular bed. Not that big a difference, honestly. That's why I don't use in like small numbers like this. I mean, you could just multiply this by 2 again. You know, so when it's like this, it's like yeah, okay. That's a bit of a problem. I think what we want to do here, doing some live coding. So the GS value of 1 basically means like 0. So I think what I want to do is actually want to subtract the GS value by 1 and then multiply by 2. So when it's at like its normal scale, it's just a regular jump boost. When it's at a small scale, it would actually... This is going to throw us to the floor, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, because it's so small. Okay, it's not going to throw us to the floor, but like it's... The jump boost is negative because the value is going to be negative now. Not by much, to be honest. It's just actually kind of funny when it's small, you get like negative jump boost. I like that. And when it's big, massive jump boost. That's so massive. It still doesn't feel that big. And of course, this isn't going to have any jump boost on it. Yeah, it's definitely bigger. It's just not like the exceedingly high one I was hoping for. To make this even like 3 times its size. Getting live tweaking. Super small. I'm just making sure it doesn't froze through the floor or something. Maybe it should like literally can't jump at all. I might want to fix that actually. But when it's massive. Okay, looks like... Okay, so I guess the problem is... Yeah, okay, this is a bug verse. So when you're still standing on the bed, you're still inside the bounce pad area, and since you never exited, the jump boost never gets overridden, even though the thing grows in size. Maybe something I can do about that, because that's probably going to be a pretty common use case. Okay, I've gone ahead and completed it. I haven't tested it yet, but the way it works is basically when it enters it, we cache the player, and when we leave, we remove the player. And basically, via a physics process, we just check that player exists, so we're tracking is it currently in the field, and then we just set its jump boost that way. Oops, there is one line I forgot. Else, I want to set the player's jump boost to 0, like that, and that should work decently well, I think. No, we don't have the player object anymore. Right, that's fine. You can just do that. Nope, like that. That should work. Get some live coding. Okay, there we go. So we have the jump boost. We get like the little bit from the bed. But if we stand on the bed and we grow it, now we jump, we get substantially more. Yeah, there we go. Problem fixed. We still get quite a bit of jump boost from just a regular sized bed, but do get substantially more the bigger it is. About twice the height, or twice the jump boost at least. Okay, I don't love how much that is. I guess we'll keep tweaking it as we actually, build the room. But I think that's the bed done for now. That's cool. I think next going to build an actual model for our radio that we built earlier, so we can make that, look better. I got my little speaker model. It's pretty basic. Got a little bevel in there. I made this texture kind of shiny, which I think is cool. I've actually seen this before. Make it bigger, goes to pitch. Make it smaller, increases the pitch. Speed playback. I'm not sure it's quite where I want it to be right now, like the music, like whatever. Yeah, I really need to grab an indicator because this is a bit annoying. I also like have this thing where objects always orientate the same way when you place them. I might try and fix that at some point. But for now, I think it's alright. It's still a bit on the pitchy side. Yeah, so I mean, that's like really aggressive. But honestly, pitch is kind of a weird thing to work with. Anyway, I think I'm working on some more models now.
Hey guys, back here with the old kitty cat. Thought I'd just record one last vlog for the evening. It's about 8 p.m. Don't have any more time tonight, unfortunately. Honestly, I'm not really sure what to do with the game, to be honest. Like, I keep finding all these grand ideas of what I want it to be, but I just don't feel like I have the skill or the patience to really pull it off, honestly. Like, I don't know, there's something about this whole experience that really still compels me. I just don't know quite what to do with it yet. I don't know, I think I'll just, do my thing this evening and then catch back up with you tomorrow, and hopefully then I'll have some more ideas. We still have time, we still have a day and a bit left. This has been a pretty cool experience so far, though. Regardless of how this is going to go. So, I guess I'll see you in the morning. Hey guys, it is actually about 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Yeah, I didn't work on the game today. I think it's one of the things I kind of didn't really anticipate. Having so much time to work on the game, I thought, there'll be more time to work on the game, but I didn't really consider how, much energy it takes to work on the same game for 4 days. I think before I was kind of limited to how much time we had, so I wasn't, too concerned with making a very featured product. It was more just creating a product, but now that I have more time to create something more substantial, I'm kind of falling short a little bit. I think what I'm going to do today is just make a model for the ray gun. That's the last thing I'm going to do, and then I'm going to reorganize everything I've made so far into kind of a tech demo, proof of concept. I honestly want to make it frame it like a museum or something that kind of documents everything I made and what worked, what didn't. And I'll talk about my whole thoughts on the experience tomorrow in tomorrow's vlog. So yeah, let's jump on the computer and let's make something for what we created. It's still pretty cool. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely still cool. But I think I'm done developing new stuff for it, so see you on the computer.
Okay, here we are back in Godot. The scene's still the same. I'd say it's kind of a shame I never got to really finish this game here. I can never quite figure out what to do with it. This cool stuff I did here. I love this bed. I love this speaker. It's actually really cool. But what's done is done, I suppose. But we're not quite finished yet. I want to add something to the weapon class, I believe. Alright, so this is where the ray fires from. Now, I want to know, can I just add some more live coding? I'm going to add a box, something, what is it called? CSG. What does CSG stand for? Please, someone let me know. Let's make it 0.4 size. Maybe 0.6. Yeah, it does not look right. Maybe 0.2. Okay. I just want to see what this looks like if we try to... Does it actually render? Oh, yeah. Look at that. Beautiful. This isn't beautiful. This is terrible. But I just think it's funny. Kind of gives an idea of what we're working with here. If we go into the player class... Yeah, it's just interface. I'm not really sure what to do a better job with this. Honestly, since this is just quote-unquote a tech demo, I don't think I'm going to worry too much about stuff. Let's just make it a hell of a lot smaller. Make it 0.4 and then 0.05 even, if we can manage that. Tiny little pistol thing. It's actually smaller than the ray itself, which is odd. Okay, now it's not even visible. Okay, maybe 0.6 again. That's not terrible, to be honest. Let's make it 0.1. Yeah, you know, I can live with this. This is alright, to be honest. Actually, hold on. What does it look like when I try to pick something up? Okay, that's about right, to be honest. Okay. I'm gonna go into Blender and I'm gonna make a real model for this. Remember, it's 0.7 by 0.1 by 0.1. Okay, I whipped together this little something something. It's very straightforward. It's just a box basically, but it's a little bit beveled and it shrinks towards the front, and the ray is actually not quite shooting out where you expect it to, but I mean, hey, there's not much point in really fixing that now. I think I know what the problem is. Give me a second. Okay, that's a bit better. I don't use it anymore. I guess while I'm kind of putting this kind of proof of concept together, I think I can talk a little bit more about how it kind of got to this state. I think the initial stage is actually a perfect example of what went wrong here. You remember this from a couple of days ago? Well, days for me, not days for you. You know, the box here, and you stand on it and it grows. Or it doesn't grow. Yeah, this is kind of speaking to the point a little bit. Give me another second. You can see how this scene and the things grow like, you know, they're supposed to. Don't want to be anything different. You have a speaker here, which is misplaced because the model's changed. But yeah, so you basically have like this whole, like, you know, level built up, and you grab stuff and you move it over here and then you jump on it. You come up here and they have like this weird panel thing and you grow that. And it doesn't grow either, ignore it. And then I kind of just like ran out of inspiration because that's basically all I ever came up with. Like, okay, on paper, being able to like grow and shrink stuff with array looks like really cool. And honestly, this effect is still pretty cool. I like the thing I did with the textures here. But, like, what do you do with this mechanic, right? You have a box, you move it around maybe. You can't pick this one up, but you can move it around. You place it, you grow, and then, well, it's not like exactly you can bring the box with you. Like, you can shrink it down, but now it's down there. It's like, okay, I can do something else with a different object, like a speaker, and it has fun properties, whether it's small or big. And then we come over here, and then we do some weird lift stuff, and then, I mean, cool, some, like, weight puzzles, I guess, but it's just an elevator. What game doesn't have an elevator? And it's like, I don't know. I just don't think this mechanic really has much use. Like, consider a game like Portal, for example. You know, Portals is like the main gimmick of the game, but like, the point of a portal is to move from one location to another. The point of a platformer is to move from one location to the other. Like, the two complement each other. If this is a puzzle platformer, you make something big, and then what, right? I just don't think there's much potential with this mechanic other than just being a fun gimmick. And I think that's why I kind of have to just cap it off here and kind of admit to myself that, you know, I'm still pretty proud of what I made. Like, I remember, if you remember, like, the very first, like, day, I didn't even have, like, any idea how to render a scene in 3D, and now I got, like, all this crazy stuff. Like, I learned a lot during this devlog, which I think is the thing I'm really going to take away from it. Aside from this devlog, I learned a lot during this game jam, which is what I'm really going to take away from it, is, like, I think it's the part I enjoyed about it most was just going through the tutorials. You remember you can do, like, this weird slide dash and fall off the edge because I've been putting walls there? Like, I had those, like, mechanics, you know, you can slide dash and then you grow things. But again, how the hell do you put these mechanics together? I don't know. But I enjoyed learning them. I enjoyed prototyping them and stuff. And I think that's just kind of the part about this whole process I enjoy the most. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to probably restructure this room. It's more or less going to look like this. And I'm going to turn it into, like, a bit of museum, mechanic archive, and show off all the different things you can do with this, you know, really underwhelming gun. And I don't know, I think I might actually record like a voiceover and have, like, you know, some like sound playing in game that just kind of talks about my thoughts about the project. And like, I don't know how people are gonna rate this because it's not really a game, is it? But like, I don't know. Like, I hope I can actually get some like feedback on the itch post where people are like just maybe saying how they like about the mechanic or how they would have used it or something like that. And I'm also probably gonna post the source code on the GitHub account for the channel. That's linked on the main channel page. Link in the description is too. So if you want to like check out the source code for this project and do something else with it yourself, then yeah, do that as well. Yeah, but for now I'm just gonna kind of go heads down, I think, and turn this room into something show-worthy. And then I'll probably check in one more time tonight. And that pretty much will be it for this devlog. And for the jam. So yeah, see you then. I think I'm just about done putting this together. So as you see, we'll start in a room that's kind of familiar. It looks like the original builds. There's, you know, a wall back here now. But it's just a cube here. And the idea is like, well, you have like basically two buttons, left click and right click. And you got this cube here, so you might as well see what it does, and bam. I guess like the player kind of stumbles into what it does, and you come up here, and then it's like, oh, the game's already over. What? Yeah, it's like the only puzzle I actually have. But this is kind of like going to be like a museum that kind of just shows off, you know, what can actually be done here. So you have, you know, raise travel through glass. Demonstrate, well, this works, right? And then you're like, oh, the larger the bed, the higher your jump. If you jump on the bed while it's like this, pretty underwhelming, but we can grow the bed to an absurd size in this room here. And then when we jump now, we go way higher. In fact, it's possible to jump outside bounds, or outside the bounds of the area, but when that happens, okay, it was going to work for a second. Yeah, you're respawning here. You added a bit of a depth plane so that you'll fall back in bounds if you jump out of bounds. I like how this room's like perfectly sized for this giant bed. This is what I wanted this game to be, right? Just like absurd sizes for small objects or big objects, but I just never really, like, this is a cool concept, but how do you turn this into like an actual game? I don't know. And the speaker, I turned like its audio way down and like its range way down so it's not like, you know, blaring in your ears all the time. I guess I never mentioned it, but this song that's playing right now, this is a song I used for my game last year, so I just kind of used it as an asset. But you can, this one says, the speaker's pitch changes with size, so you can make it bigger. And you can make it smaller. I think I turned grabbing off. Oh, no, I guess I didn't. Well, it doesn't really matter anyway, right? I want the players to be able to experiment with this stuff. So that's that, and then there's one little corridor over here, so this is crouch while spreading the slides. Remember, you can do this. I'll probably have to put controls on the edge page itself, which isn't like always the best place to put them, but I think they'll probably be fine. And then the one last thing here, small objects travel farther, try throwing mid-area. So we can shrink this cube down a little bit and we can throw it and it'll go like that. But then we can also shrink it way down and we can throw it even farther. Yeah, this was never well implemented, was it? Ability to grab stuff. And that goes a fair bit farther, doesn't it? In fact, I'm going to put a little bit of basketball throw behind it. Check that out. And of course we can grow it like the sign suggests. Mid-air and it'll land on our face. Yeah, there's also a depth plane here, a unique depth plane that just respawns you back in this spot specifically. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I got. I think I'm going to record a bit of an audio that's going to play in this area when you walk through the door, and it's going to just talk about, you know, why this is just basically a museum with possible features and didn't actually end up making a game out of it. And yeah, I actually like this, honestly. It feels like it's not a game, as in, like, you know, it's complete or anything, but, like, if I make it clear on, like, the itch page, this is just, like, a proof of concept or a tech demo or something, I think, you know, I might still be able to get some good feedback about this concept, and I feel like some things here are actually well implemented. Like this text, which feels to be kind of glitchy. Like, look at this. It looks like text doesn't do well with the distance renderer. I wonder if I pull it off the wall a little bit, things might change. Do some live hot fixing here. Turn snap off for a second. Does that change anything? Ow. Does that change anything? No, of course not. I guess text isn't well implemented with transparent textures. It's fine. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess I can show off the depth planes. So basically the way this works is there is an area. This one's not as interesting. This is just an area. The more interesting one being main. So I have a thing here called the depth plane, and it uses a collision shape, which is a thing called a world boundary. And I don't really know how this works. I kind of just YOLO'd it. So I think 1 means something. I don't know. Hold on. Let me show you something real quick. I think we go into script. There's a little thing here called search help, and I search for world boundary. Boundary shape 3D. Yeah, we can look up the description for it. Okay, we'll look up description for a plane. If distance from the origin to the plane expressed in terms of normal. Absolute distance, blah, blah, blah. Yep, still no idea. Okay. Point is, I set it to 1 because we want to use the 1, and the y-axis is minus 50 because we want to be pretty far down. Maybe it's a bit too far down. You saw how long it takes for us to fall. Oh my goodness, what the heck just happened? Yeah, sometimes I pressed the wrong keys, and like window closes or something. That's the first time I've opened like a million windows. I'm glad I was recording that. Anyway. You go up here, jump on the bed again, grows to absurd size, and whee! How far can we fall this time? Okay, not as far. That's good. I like that. As long as, you know, this isn't like inside the def plane down here, it'll be good. Yeah, so that's how a world boundary works. I like that. So basically it doesn't matter where you are, it just checks like your absolute position basically. And then this, of course, leaks, fires a signal into the script. Just reset the position to respawn position, and if it's a rigid body specifically like a box or something, we want to make sure to do this. This looks kind of weird. Rigid bodies have a bunch of physics applied to them, but when you cold freeze, it like basically turns their physics off, and like turning it on and back off, or turning it or freezing it and then unfreezing it was like the best way I could like clear its physics. It's probably a better way to do that, but that works for now, and that's, I'd say for now. I'm not changing it. That's just how it is. So yeah, this is the level pretty much. I'm gonna record that little blurb. I'm not sure what I'm going to say, to be honest, but I want something to play during the actual like museum part. And I think I pretty much include everything. I didn't include the lift, but that was only like very like mediocrely, is that a word? Implemented, so I don't really feel that bad about like excluding that one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess I'll check in one more time once I've got the audio recorded, but that will pretty much make it for tonight. It's getting a little bit late anyway, so I think it's plenty fine. I have a few more things I want to say about this project tonight, and I'll probably do that in the next clip, so see you there. Okay, the commentary has been implemented. I'm mostly just going to stay quiet here and let you listen to it. But there is a little like trigger on this doorway for it to start once we get right up here. Wait, that's all there is? Yeah, the puzzle you just solved is all I came up with, but feel free to explore around the museum area and interact with the various mechanics I created but never found a good use for. Consider this a proof of concept or a tech demo. I don't know how you want to rate this one, it's not really a game after all, but please, if you have genuine feedback, please leave it. What do you think of the grow shrink mechanic? What would you do with it? The biggest problem I ran into is the lack of potential. Consider a game like Portal. The point of portals is to move you from one location to another. The objective of a platformer is to get from one location to another. The two complement each other seamlessly. But the growth mechanic? Make a box bigger to reach new heights, and then what? You can't even take the box with you. Growing objects through glass is cool, but what's the point if you can't reach it? The springy bed is cool, but why should you have to grow it to get more spring? Why does it just have the jump height to begin with? No matter which way I span it, I just couldn't find a scenario where the growth mechanic was the centerpiece, and didn't feel shoehorned in. But that's part of experimenting, right? Sometimes ideas don't always work. Heck, maybe that's the real way this game fits the theme, personal growth. Anyways, enjoy playing the round, and thanks for giving this a shot. Okay, yeah, but for real, and now so just able to collision box, you can come back here, doesn't play again. Well, that was pretty easy to implement. We got a little, commentary node here. I mean, this is just a node, I call it commentary. We have a little collision object here with this collision box right in this doorway here. So you pass through the doorway, you'll trigger it. And then in its signal method, we'll play the stream player and then we'll disable it. Because we're like still processing the object itself, we can't just call disabled on it, that throws an error. So that'd be called set deferred, which puts it like into the queue. So once it's done processing, it'll finish this one as well. And then we set deferred disabled to true. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, one last thing to talk about is I've updated the pause menu so it actually looks a little bit better now. So you can press resume to resume, or you can just hit escape again. The quit button to quit, of course. Yeah, but it works really well. I'll show you how I made this because I think it's pretty cool. So I've had this in the game for a while, I just never brought attention to it. So I have this separate object called a pause menu, which is just a child of the main class. Now the reason this has to be a child is because of a little thing down somewhere over. So you can find it here, process. There's a thing here called process mode. So basically what we do is I have a boolean. This is like a getter, setter. I don't know really what to call it. It's kind of like you can use functions instead of just, setting the variable. It's all languages have it. This is how GDScript does it. So to get it, we just return the variable itself, of course. But when we're setting it, we do this thing, getTree.pause. This basically pauses like all the process nodes in the tree, so nothing processes anymore. I think things still like render again, but don't quote me on that. And then a little extra logic. So if the value is true, so if we're trying to pause it, we need to set the input mode to visible, which is what releases the mouse, and we'll set visible, make this node appear so you can actually, see it. And then, of course, if we're unpausing, then move the capture mode, which is how we do the FPF stuff, and we make it invisible. The important thing to note here is if we pause the entire tree, this would include this node, and therefore we wouldn't be able to unpause, which is why we have to set this mode to always, so that even if the tree is paused, this node still processes. However, nodes typically inherit their process mode from their parent. So that, of course, means if we were to set, say, this a function in the main class, we would have to set main's process mode to always, and then everything in the tree would just process as normal. So a subnode is set to always, so this one will stay unpaused, but main and everything underneath it will stay paused. Pretty cool. I guess it's just what the class looks like. It's just, again, color rect, and then a few UI elements to get every zoom in and quit buttons, and then those are just handled in here as normal. Quit, you can quit the game anytime using getTree.quit. And then resume just says pause to false. And yeah, that is everything, honestly. I don't know what to say, to be honest. I think the thing I really want to just kind of talk about, that's last night.
Yeah, the puzzle you just solved is all I
forgot about that.
But feel
Give
free
me a second. Okay, let's not go up there again so we don't... Okay, so let's not go up there again so I don't actually trigger the voice and talk over myself, with myself. I think the last thing I'll just talk about is just, I guess, my final thoughts on the project. I'm probably not going to submit it tonight. I'll do that tomorrow morning. Not usually the best idea, but we got like, I think that doesn't close until, what, 2 p.m. in my time zone, so I think we'll got plenty of time to work through a few issues if we have them, and then do some assets and stuff and whatnot. But yeah, like, how do I feel about not really finishing the game? I felt pretty bad about it, to be honest, to begin with. Can I pick this up? No, I can't. Just thought it'd be something more interesting to interact with. But yeah, I felt pretty like bad to begin with, to be honest. Like, I had a lot of ideas and I wasn't able to execute on any of them, which kind of wasn't great. But if I guess one of the reasons I did solo coding today is because I actually spent a lot of the morning editing this vlog. Like, I wanted to get a bit of a head start on it because I wasn't even sure if I wanted to post a devlog or not, because I wasn't sure I was happy about it. This is the first time I've ever really made a devlog like this. But I was just editing it back about, yeah, no, this is all right. This is okay. I think I'll keep this around. And then I got to see back, my like initial reactions. Like, usually how I like edit devlogs is like I do all the coding, then I basically write a script and like talk about my feelings afterwards. But getting to like see like my feelings in the moment, it was kind of like how made me remember like how far I came with this project. Like, I did a lot of stuff. I didn't know a single thing about 3D and GDScript or in just Godot. And then like I made this entire room with all these crazy mechanics and stuff, and it's honestly, it shouldn't be understated just how much work and passion went into this project, even if I couldn't really make a game out of it. But like in the first ever vlog I did on day one, I made it pretty clear that my expectations for this project wasn't to complete a game, it was just to experiment, and that's exactly what I did. So I'm feeling better about it now, to be honest. Just because I didn't finish anything like that big for the game doesn't mean I won't ever do that. Like, I honestly, like, a game jam might be a good place to try something new because it gives you a reason to, gives you an audience to put your game in front of to get feedback from, but then like take it and do something with it. Like, I might that like whole house idea I had with the furniture and the boxes, and I might explain that well. Like the moving out idea I had, maybe that's something to explore, but I just need more time to actually do it well. I think everything this game really lacks is just its own identity. These are like, of course, just like the most like default of textures, but I don't know, like, I don't think I really had time to really make it my own, to really make it my own style. Maybe that's something outside of, like, jams I should practice doing, and then when I come into a jam, I have a much better idea of what I'm trying to do and what my game of my creation would look like. So yeah, I think that's everything I want to say. The source code, I think I mentioned this earlier, but the source code for this project, I'm gonna just release on GitHub. Yep, some bugs will happen. So if you want to take this project and make it something out of it, or just look at it and see I did certain things I didn't talk about, yeah, go for it. I think that could be really cool. Also, if you're watching right now, and you feel like leaving your feedback, leave it in the comments as well. I'd love to hear what you think about this mechanic. What would you do with it? What could basically what my spiel up there was about, but instead of putting on itch, you can put it down here on YouTube. All right, I think that's enough rambling for one evening. I'm going to get some dinner, chillax for a bit, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow morning and we'll do final game submission and wrap up and whatnot. This has been a fun time. I think I've had a good time. All right, see ya in the morning. Good morning, guys. It's actually morning this time. It's actually almost 11 a.m. Had a bit of a shower. But I'm gonna have to keep this short because the submission is closed in about 2 hours, so I better get on the computer and get that in before that happens. So I'll talk more about the whole thing after everything is said and done, but see you on the computer. Alright, exporting is complete. Link's build is legit. Everything works, sound effects, mechanics, graphics. Wait, that's all there is and whatnot. And of course, you also need a Windows build as mandatory for this game jam. A little trick you can do if you're running on Linux and you want to test your Windows builds is, my experience, Godot and Unity work pretty seamlessly with Wine, so just run it with the Wine command and it should work pretty well. The angle's a bit strange on the Windows builds as opposed to the Linux build, not sure that's about. But it runs pretty seamlessly again. That's all there is. Yeah, the puzzle you just solved is audio, all I came up with. Whatever. Feel free to explore around the museum area and interact with the various mechanics I created, but never found a good use. Honestly, I consider this a proof of concept. Second thoughts about this commentary. I guess it's fine. I maybe just listened to it too many times, but I think I want to add a little dialogue that pops up as you just to cancel it, so you can just not have to listen to the whole thing every time. Although I want to get this bill submitted so that I have something. Consider a game like Portal. In case I run out of time or something. So I will hop on itch and hopefully the servers aren't dead. Okay, I've gone ahead and created the page. Uploaded the Windows build, just make sure everything works. Uploaded it, downloaded it, ran it, everything works fine. I called the game the GS principle. GS, of course, standing for grow shrink, and then just proof of concept, just to let people know it's not really finished. I guess I can bust through a few other things. Let's see, short description, timeline, show them when you link the project, avoid duplicating project style. Okay, description. Experiment with a grow/shrink ray to change the size of objects in the world. Sure. Yeah, it's a game, downloadable, it's been released, no payments, everything's here. I'm gonna skip this part. I need to show that on camera. Puzzle, there technically is one puzzle in the game, so it counts as a puzzle game. Don't care about tags, don't care about anything else. Don't install instructions, worry about it later. Okay, so everything's good here. Of course, I add all the thumbnails and whatnot, but I want to get it submitted first, so let's head back to the jams. Submit your project. GS principle, of course. The theme was built to scale. Just for the theme. Features item that grows and shrinks objects. Sweet. How long did it take to make your game? It took 96 hours. I mean, it took only about 40 hours of work, but I took my time with it, so I'm gonna be honest here. Please go to last 60 views. I gotta still do that, of course. I'll do it here. Okay. See description, full credits. Yeah, I'll just do that because that's a bit easier than trying to do it here. College GMT features by name. Yeah, they will not feature this game. I use Godot. How many people worked in the game? It was just me. And we'll submit that. Sweet. You're done. Looks like there's already... How many submissions? Over 4,000. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm excited. I do think I want to add that little dialogue box for disabling the audio, so I'm going to do that real quick now. See you in a bit. Get a little embarrassing. I got the little pop-up to work, but of course you don't have access to the mouse. You can't actually click on it.
This is all I came up with, but feel free to explore around.
Yeah, maybe I want to use a button instead. Okay, working a little bit better this time. We come up here as normal. Commentary starts.
That's all there is.
Little thing in the bottom right
Yeah,
corner.
the puzzle you
Cancel
just solved
commentary.
is all I came
Hit
up
delete.
with, but
And it stops. Also, I guess have a little bit of logic. Only works if it's actually already playing. So if we were to hit delete ahead of time, hitting delete now. But if I come up here,
wait, that's all there
the
is.
place is normal.
Yeah, the puzzle you.
Cool. That's the last little thing I wanted to add. Okay, I'm gonna re-export these bills, upload them, and finish the submission page.